Good afternoon. My name is Roland Anglin. I'm the Dean of the College. Welcome to our 2019 Levin graduation ceremony. Will the families and friends of our soon-to-be graduates stand? Keep standing. Only you know the challenges on the road to this milestone. To all of you, we honor your dedication, your sacrifice, and your love. Please be seated. Thank you. So this is a celebration. Primarily, it's a celebration of you, the graduate. Hopefully, we've given you opportunities to expand your personal definition of self, your importance in the wider world, and your ability to change the world for the better. If we have done that, we have succeeded as an institution. Speaking of succeeding, I'm going to now call Chris Ronan to give reflections to the graduates. Chris is no stranger to us. He holds a master's degree in urban planning, design, and development from the college. Chris was named president of University Circle, Inc. in 2005. For those of you who don't know, UCI is a nonprofit community service corporation responsible for the comprehensive development of the University Circle community. The changes and improvement in that community have been nothing less than remarkable under his tenure. Before joining UCI, he served the city of Cleveland as the city's planning director, chief development officer, and chief of staff. He was chief architect of the city's waterfront district plan, an ambitious effort to reconnect the people of Cleveland to Lake Erie. Chris has a unique set of lived experiences, and those experiences make him the right person to give address to the graduates. And I know you'll enjoy his wit and wisdom. Chris?
Thank you, Dean Anglin, and good afternoon, everybody. It's my honor to be here, and I want to always say the Dean is, thank you for always getting things started right on time. So I used to walk in the old college a couple minutes late to class. If I'd done that today, I'd be in trouble. So I'm just glad to be with you. My wife asked me, and I'm going to just prove to her on the spot. She said, "How many people are here today?" Well, here's what I'm going to do. Ha ha! Smile, graduates and family. I'll now put that away and turn it off. So a good high school friend of mine just texted me about an hour ago, and she said she's at her daughter's graduation at Ohio State University, and she said there are 12,000 graduates among undergrad, grad, and postgrad. And I said, well, I'm glad. I know I'm going to be in a more intimate setting, and I'm glad for that. This is a special group. It's family. You are family. We are all eventually family of the Levin College of Urban Affairs. I just want to say again, thank you to Dean Anglin for the opportunity to speak today and the invitation. I saw a couple of old friends in the crowd. Jeffrey, thank you for the orientation on the way in. A musician and a great faculty professor. My good friend, Hunter Morrison, who I had the pleasure to succeed an audacious task as planning director, but I learned it all from you in that basement building next door, Hunter. And want to say to Roberto Steinbacher, who I saw on the way in, Roberta, thank you for introducing me to a man I'm going to talk a bit more about in a moment, Norman Krumholtz, but you were the first person I met at the College of Urban Affairs when it was next door. Dr. Kellogg, thank you for the years of wisdom in class, along my classmate at the time, Wynn Weiser, and Dr. Bowen, I see you out there today, thank you. And there are other professors I'm sure I didn't see on the way in, but that's just to name a few, and this is why it's a family. We get to see every day, those of us lucky to stay in Cleveland who studied in Cleveland, our family of friends, professors, fellow students, and faculty members. And I, this morning, had a special call with Norman Krumholtz. I'm going to talk about more in a minute. Life's good. As the dean said, I work in University Circle Incorporated. It's an honor to work among 40 nonprofit institutions in the education, medical, arts, and cultural institutions of the Circle as the place continues to grow. I encourage you to seek it out as a visitor, potentially as an employee or maybe a resident someday. But I'm going to speak mostly about other places in Cleveland today, but I do want to tell you anecdotally about how fun sometimes life can be. On a serious note, we had a lunchtime Wade Oval Walk Against Hunger. It's our 9th annual in support of the food bank's Harvest for Hunger campaign. We take it very seriously, but we also have some fun along with it. On the most precious, I think, part of the day was actually not what happened on Wade Oval, but what happened at the Mary Bethune Elementary School in Glenville when a group of K-8 students walked their school today and raised $350 to help fight those that are having food insecurity. And those are the special moments that really give you pause about what a special community this is. On a somewhat frolicsome note, I literally changed for you, put on my green Viking tie, because I was in my jeans 3 hours ago, and I fulfilled an adult dream. And this was, I was out with, not the Cleveland Indians. When I was a kid, I wanted to play for the Cleveland Indians, but when I got old enough to realize I probably wasn't going to make the MLB, I started watching those hot dogs running around in the 5th inning of the game. So ketchup, mustard, and onion ran and walked with us at Wade Oval today. That was just a dream for an adult. So, life's fun. And now I'm here, back at the alma mater, Cleveland State. Well, as a fellow alum of the Levin College, it is an honor to speak with you today. And in getting my mind around being here, and I've been reflective all week, Dean, about what I was going to say, I was taken back, as I mentioned, to the time I did first walk through this college. And it was, for those who don't know, a little brick college next door. How many of you, if you'd raise a hand, taught there or were a student there in the little brick college next door? Yes, well, you guys remember it. That's when I met Roberto. And I'll tell you, off script a little bit, I was an undergrad and had done a little bit of work submitting papers to my undergraduate school at Miami of Ohio. And there was a professor down there who, your reputation here precedes you elsewhere. He said, you're from Cleveland, Ohio. You seem to show some interest in what cities are all about. This was in a senior class I took in city management with a guy named Stuart Meck. And he said, there's a wonderful group of faculty members up at the Levin College. You ought to check them out. So 2 years later, I took his wisdom and I did it. Well, I walked in the early 90s to the building next door. I met a man named Norm Krumholtz. And a lot of you know him, and a lot of you, I'll let you know a little bit more about. He was the first professor of mine that really introduced me to what cities could be and what cities were all about. He changed my life. They were the best educational years of my life because I was living my education through this college that was so focused on using this city as a learning lab. Levin helped build a framework for life that guides my actions every day, and I have a sense for you too, that this learning lab that is Cleveland State University, and particularly Levin College of Urban Affairs, changes our lives. On the week I graduated, fast forward a few years later, I was a working student. I don't know how many of you were, and so I wasn't on the 2-year track. I took about 4 years to get through my graduate program. But when I was finishing the week I was leaving college, this week, 22 years ago, I asked Professor Krumholtz for his advice, just advice on life as you're walking out the door, and he said, get out of the cube. It was what he told me, and metaphorically, don't spend all your time at your desk, right? He said, get out of the cube. He said that really the premise of city planning wasn't always about what happened at a desk or a drafting table or at today's computer. It's about the people. And I had the opportunity to do just that. As the dean said, I was lucky to serve at the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission. I worked as the campaign manager for the city's first female mayor, and I'm hoping and waiting for a second female mayor in this city as Cleveland Planning Director, but that was for Jane Campbell, and I served as her chief of staff. And now again, I have the opportunity to be with University Circle Incorporated the last 12 years. But I attribute all those opportunities to this Levin College, which by nature, again, supports the city as it should in service and looks at it as a learning lab from which to learn from and to shape. I want to talk about some cornerstones that I think frame at least my professional and personal life, and maybe you can draw upon this too, that as we graduate, as you graduate from the Levin College, from this civic incubator at a moment of graduation. By the way, graduation, I thought about the word, I looked it up. It's gradus in Latin. Gradus, Gradus, which translates to step. To step. I think we step into these 4 questions in our lives pretty quickly after the Levin College. Maybe you are now. First question, are you willing to take risks that lead to innovation and meaningful advances for our fellow citizens? How will we apply ourselves? Second question, how do you apply yourself after you've used this great learning lab to think about this world? What will test and strengthen your conviction? There will be times when your conviction will be tested, and there will be times when hopefully it will be strengthened. And what will you leave to others? Innovation, application, conviction, legacy. On risk and innovation, indulge me on a graduation experience before I was at Levin. I mentioned Miami of Ohio. I was walking from the arena where the graduation ceremonies were, as yours might be tomorrow. And I was walking with my father, and he was honed in, looking at his car outside the arena as we were walking toward it. He was honed in on a little rectangular yellow slip, which we noticed was a parking ticket. He looked at it and he said, "It's a parent's thanks on graduation day in Oxford, Ohio." But that wasn't his wisdom. His wisdom, as he got over his gift of the graduation day parking ticket, was something it took me years to really understand what he was talking about. He said, "I'm proud of you." Then he had my ear. And he said, "I only have one piece of advice." He said, "Go out and make some mistakes." And I thought, wow, from my dad on graduation at this tense moment, I get that? Go out and mess it up? Make some mistakes. As you can probably imagine, it was really a metaphor said in a different way. Take some risks. Don't be afraid to fail. Take some risks. Maybe calculated risks, but take some risks. It's the only thing that really does lead to innovation, civic innovation. And so I'm grateful for my dad for saying that. I pass that on to you. Take some risks. Experiment. Again, it might lead you to something innovative. Think about civic innovation and think about the innovation that's taken place in this community of Cleveland over the last 223 years. When good things got done in civic innovation was because people pressed on and took risks. A 100-mile emerald necklace around our region, advanced by an engineer named Stinchcomb. Brush's experiment on Public Square, using arc lighting to advance outdoor lighting everywhere throughout the world. Garrett Morgan, he's known for the street light, but he's not as well known necessarily for the mask that saved Cleveland utility workers trapped beneath the lake. And the civic innovation of Adela Prentice Hughes, whose pioneering efforts started the Cleveland Orchestra. She never took no for an answer. She talked John Severance at the height of the Great Depression, right at the precipice of it, to build Severance Hall. They were risk takers who advanced Cleveland. Norm Krumholtz, the man I mentioned, took a risk when he caused Cleveland to be introspective about who pays and who benefits from our public investments. That framing question advanced the field of equity planning 5 decades ago from Cleveland. I talk about my mentor here at CSU, former planning director Norm Krumholtz, who came to work for the first African-American mayor of a major American city, Carl Stokes. I had the good fortune to talk to Norm this morning. He wishes you all well today on your graduation. If you haven't met him, I'll never forget walking at an APA conference with him, and he was a rock star. This was 20 years ago. I was a student walking with him, and people in the planning fields were starting to learn about equity planning, but I think today we can argue equity planning, at least in the vocabulary and the narrative out there, is out there beyond the schools of planning. That's Norm. He was an innovator who took risks on different concepts for how we ought to think about city planning and administration. I was lucky to be his graduate assistant. Thank you, Roberto, for that introduction to Norm 22 years ago. He's 92 today, or turns 92 in June. We had his 90th birthday in this room, and Norm Krumholtz Way was unveiled out on East 18th. Take a look at it someday when you're walking by and think of Norm. Think about what he's done for the city. But he brought his first boss in Cleveland, Mayor Carl Stokes, into the building next door. Mayor Stokes was between his jobs. I think he was in New York before he came back to Cleveland and became the ambassador to Seychelles and went off to Seychelles. But for a brief moment, he was in Cleveland. And for a brief moment, Norm engaged him to co-comment on a program that we had in the graduate program called Cities and Films. It was a fun class, by the way. I'd suggest you bring it back if you can. Consult with Norm. But Carl Stokes, having the great Mayor Stokes as your commentator on the Cities and Films class, you can imagine he lived it, right? He lived all those things that play out in the documentaries of Hollywood, but in real life here in the city of Cleveland. So he was a great commentator. But I took a chance under that idea of innovation and taking a couple risks, Dad's old advice. At the end of the class, I was Norm's GA. I just said to the great Mayor Carl Stokes, would you ever meet me for a cup of coffee? And he says with a great smile, yes, meet me Saturday morning at the Shaker Square Arabica. There it was. 3 days later, I'm with Mayor Carl Stokes in the Shaker Square Arabica. We had a whirlwind conversation. I don't remember all of it. I think I was so in awe just talking to him as a student like you. But I do remember his last line as he got up with a smile and walked out of the coffee shop. His last line to me was, change comes in inches in Cleveland. In some respects, that line haunts me. You can imagine, change comes in inches in Cleveland. He said it in his Carl way with a smile, which made it all the more ambiguous, but change comes in inches in Cleveland. How about we change that? How about you change that with the courage to take risks, to make a few mistakes along the way, and to innovate? The second cornerstone question I have for you is, how will you apply yourself? You've done so much to learn about this city and other cities, using this city particularly as a learning lab. From its inception, the Levin College was all about the application to real-world problems. The year that Mayor Carl Stokes was elected was also the year of the Huff riots. Hunter Morrison's very familiar with that, having worked in Huff. A response to the riots actually came out of this university, Cleveland State University, as professors know, and has been over time documented in the room next door. Dr. Thomas Campbell coordinated a group of CSU faculty, I imagine a couple of you among them, Roberto and others, who thought about creating an Institute of Urban Studies. Maybe later for you. That Institute of Urban Studies became a reality. And another pioneer who applied herself, Maxine Goodman Levin, to which our college bears its name. She was a developer and a founder of both the Cleveland Landmarks Commission and the Cleveland Restoration Society. She endowed a chair, which I'm sure Professor Gleason is well aware of, in her late husband Albert's name. And it was the first of its kind in the country to encourage the faculty members to whom it was bestowed to combine classroom work with public service and study and work to find solutions to urban problems. So from the beginning, this college, at its very inception, was all about a laboratory of ideas and civic application. Now, how will you apply yourself? Not too long ago, I was looking at a photo of Dr. Martin Luther King when he spoke in Cleveland, which he did so many times as a friend of Carl Stokes, as an advocate for his election to become mayor. In 1967, he spoke at a site on East Boulevard in Superior. We need to do something with that site. It's just a grassy curbside green across from the Langston Hughes Library in Glenville. There's no articulation of it, and I'm committed actually in University Circle to spend some time articulating about some of the places with visual interpretation about where King spoke. In the photo that I just recently took a look at, I looked in the background of the photo at a building at the corner of Superior and East Boulevard. It was a beautiful building in 1967, but today it stands vacant. There's fencing in front of it, the victim of decades of neglect. It made me think of the conditions in the neighborhood since King's speech and had me reflecting on what had and hadn't gotten better between the Glenville neighborhood, where the shootout of 1968 occurred, and the Huff riots the year before in '67. But I thought of individuals and initiatives that are giving me hope in terms of application. I thought about how they're applying themselves to improve today's problems in our city. I thought of a young woman named Kristin Farmer. A couple of you may know. I saw a couple smiles about Kristin Farmer. I met her this week. She's one of my heroes. My shiro, I've heard this term. She used to work with us at UCI. Kristin was on the marketing team, and she did a fine job with our marketing team at University Circle. But she had something else that you could see was passion in her belly. She lived down the street on Ashbury in Glenville, just down the street from the Glenville shootouts. And she was today a very observant person about the conditions all around her. And one day she asked to meet in my office, and she rolled out something I completely was not expecting. She was my marketing coordinator. I wasn't expecting the PowerPoint I see. She said she liked marketing, but she wanted to commit herself to something she was truly passionate about, the subject of infant mortality. Kristin at the time was probably 25, 26 years old. She saw the disparity of some of the state's highest infant mortality rates, particularly among persons of color, right in her own neighborhood, in the throes of some of the world's leading healthcare institutions. Babies were dying at more than double the state and national averages. So into her mid-20s, she became a doula. That's what she proposed to me, and we transitioned in Kristin's world from marketing coordinator to what she wanted to do, first starting after her work hours and then part-time, and then full-time. Noting that babies were dying at double the state and national averages, she built an army of doulas, not just herself, and she built an organization in 3 years called Birthing Beautiful Communities. She's received over $500,000 from the state of Ohio through grants, and last year, Kristin and her team of prenatal doulas recruited other women from around the neighborhoods, and they're working now with hundreds of moms, expectant mothers, in their neighborhoods. They've developed a remarkable track record of saving babies. Last week, I met with Kristin on her 5th-year anniversary of leaving UCI, and she said to me, I've got a new PowerPoint, essentially. She brought a big map. She said, 50 years, and we talked a little bit about proceeding to what she had to say about the riots and what I was going to say today. Just talking to her a little bit about today, and she said, you know, I'm committed to double down in the neighborhoods that need us most. So she rolled out her vision to continue not only her business, but to build transition housing for 20 women who would spend not just 2 days in the hospital, but 180 days getting out of the environmental stresses that cause for infant mortality, and a birthing center next to the housing that ultimately will help women deliver safe and healthy babies. I'd say that's application at work in a young 20-something. She's one of my heroes. The third cornerstone I wanted to talk about is conviction. As those in the public service today know, circumstances will challenge your conviction for you and your career horizons. You won't always see the moment coming at you. It might be something small. It might be that big, resignable moment. I can recall so many instances when I was city planning director. I gave a kind of fun talk the other night at the Music Box Supper Club in the Flats. The title of my talk was Cleveland Plans from the Attic. There are some plans you see coming, as Hunter would well attest to, that are sort of dead on arrival, but we can have some fun with them. And then there are some that cause a question about your conviction. The obvious ones that needed to be shelved in this talk I gave the other night, I think maybe it was a good idea in its day, but it doesn't seem like a good idea looking back, was the jet port in the lake, the airport in the lake concept of Mayor Locher. I always wonder what will they say about us in 50 years and trample on our big ideas, right? But Jim Rhodes' Bridge to Canada, another idea that maybe needed to go away. These are some of the plans that made it to the attic of city planning and elsewhere. But there were also those plans that were a little bit less easy to put your finger on, and maybe the federal government dangled the candy of federal dollars for the downtown people mover right outside these doors. Cleveland, along with LA and Houston, had been awarded major federal grants to elevate transit as a kind of downtown monorail. Two professors out of this college, Dr. Tom Beyer and Norm Krumholtz, when he was planning director, bravely opposed it. Imagine the chamber comes together, the civic boosters come together, and they're ready to bring all those federal dollars, and that downtown people mover is going to save Cleveland. Well, it was actually Dr. Tom Beyer who said it would create a classless system of haves riding above and have-nots left below, quite literally. I think there's all kinds of other planning implications to a city in the sky above retail where there's no connection. But they challenged the community to literally give the dollars back. Krumholtz challenged the ridership numbers. He saw the project as a boondoggle. They were right. The FTA awarded Detroit the project, and ridership never surpassed 20% expectation, and it today hovers around 10% in the city of Detroit from its original ridership estimates. That was the courage of conviction coming out of this college. It's not easy when the community is breathing down your neck, particularly downtown here, about the next great civic project. In a smaller way, I remember holding up the great Euclid Corridor Improvement Project. I think it's a great project today. It had one flaw. We had a lot of students and commuters who wanted to cycle through the corridor. We asked ODOT and the GCRTA to simply place bike lanes between the campus district, and the University Circle neighborhood. I remember the heat of the city planning board rooms, where for a number of weeks, RTA officials and others were coming down on us saying, "You've got to move this project forward." We ultimately prevailed, and the public officials from RTA to ODOT to us at City Hall cut the ribbon and rode down the road in 2008 together. 8 years later, I was satisfied by seeing hundreds of parade goers riding their bike lanes on the corridor, the best way possible to go to a big parade. That parade was for the 2016 Cavaliers NBA championship. Little things like that do add up, but do you have the courage of conviction to once in a while say, pause, let's rethink this. Let's think about how it could be improved. In the early 2000s, we were faced with other challenges at our planning department. The port wanted to take out Whiskey Island, for those of you who know the green space just west of the Cuyahoga River. They wanted to take it out for more bulk material storage. I'm a proud member of the port today. I don't know back when, but I did know then. I was the planning director. And I asked our mayor, Mayor Jane Campbell, to go out to Whiskey Island with me on a sunny spring day. People were enjoying the waterside park, and I remember the mayor's epiphany. She wasn't going to forego some of the city's only lakeside natural recreation to gravel piles. Sometimes you have to be proximate to gain deeper perspective. That site visit helped. I was lucky as planning director to have a supportive mayor in Jane Campbell. I think Hunter Morrison had the same in George Voinovich in the early years with Michael White. We've been lucky. We've been lucky. But I remember rolling out some complicated plans for the mayor politically, for the convention center location. Some other business interests were breathing down the city's neck as an alternate site location. And we were faced with the great debate. We knew that it would bring cost overruns, the other site, and we also thought it was a suboptimal site. But we knew that our boss had some potentially, well, let's just say ramifications politically. I felt like we were reigniting the debate that Cleveland faced a century ago in its orientation. Would we be toward the lake, as Burnham prescribed, or to the rail lines behind Tower City, as the Van Swearingens prescribed? Making no small plans, we sided with the original plan for our city, the group mall plan, on the mall and sited the new convention center at its historic center. With certain business interests that I mentioned breathing down our neck, this wasn't easy for the mayor to navigate, but it took her support. Again, she an alumni of this college. We knew the stakes were high for her personally, politically, and she faced the loss of business leadership in her next election. But we rolled out the plans in the mayor's dining room, and she asked, "Is this where your analysis takes us?" We said yes, and gave all the supporting reasons why. She said, "Let's go with it." Campbell served a single term, but the civic district is intact because of her leadership. Conviction. Finally, legacy. This college itself is the legacy of a great civic idea to address, as I mentioned, complex urban problems. The legacy, as mentioned, of Dr. Tom Campbell, who saw a need to resolve the complex problems facing our city. It's also the legacy of someone who took a risk and presented an innovative idea to Maxine Goodman Levin, who endowed it. You learn a little about your history of your college here if you didn't already know today. But it was Maxine Goodman Levin whose gift created this Center for Applied Learning, one that uses the city as its lab. The university officially added the Levin College of Urban Affairs as a college within the university in 1977, starting with a single program of urban studies and growing to multiple programs from which you're all graduating this week from. The college was officially named the Maxine Goodman Levin College of Urban Affairs in 1989, named after Maxine herself, who founded also the Cleveland Landmarks Commission and the Cleveland Restoration Society. So again, the woman behind our college, the man behind the idea, the two of them collaborating to put together this great Levin College. I'm very biased standing in front of you. I think it is the great college within this great university, but we'll just keep that to ourselves in the door. We the believers. It is. It's a beautiful, wonderful place. And when I mentioned this talk today to my mother, who helped get me through my college years, both working for her as an independent small business owner while I was in this college and also to undergrad, she said instantly, she said, "Those were your best years. I hope you've enjoyed the same. They were my best years." And she said, "It seemed to me this was always about applying what you learned to the city itself." It is. Right, Mom. I remember doing a good bit of case study work with Professor Krumholtz. I'm sure you had your case studies out in the community. Ours was the St. Clair neighborhood, where we uncovered, even in the mid-90s, a legacy of redlining. Well, of course, the legacy of redlining, but what we uncovered was that blockbusting still seemed to be going on. 30, 40 years after fair housing laws had been written, but perhaps not executed on. A generation hence, there's still significant work to be done. Legacy doesn't always come in brick and mortar. It is often events that trigger a legacy in the character of a person that is revealed then and thereafter. I had the unique honor to serve on the Cleveland Landmarks Commission with Robert Madison. At 95, he spoke at the City Club of Cleveland last Friday. I'm sure a few of you saw him or listened to him on podcasts on WCPN. His story is one of perseverance, and naturally, as an architect, he has a legacy of buildings to point to. My favorite being the one that bears his name in Glenville, where on East 105th, he designed a medical office for African American doctors to practice who were denied places to practice by the hospitals that barred them. Madison knows that story all too well, and while his legacy of extraordinary buildings include the Louis Stokes wing of the Cleveland Library, his legacy is also vested in the courage of his conviction. He went to school at East Tech here in Cleveland, and his mother wanted him to be an architect. His grades were good enough. He'd studied Latin and also calculus as a necessary prerequisite for architecture. But he was first denied entrance to Western Reserve University on the sole basis of the color of his skin. He studied and taught for a time at Howard University. He then got a call to World War II. He served as a captain in the Buffalo Soldiers Unit. He came back a decorated veteran with a Purple Heart. Again, he applied to Western Reserve School of Architecture, and upon interviewing, again was denied. As he described passionately at the City Club last week, Robert Madison went home that day, donned his uniform and his war medals, walked back into the university that had just denied him, and he said, "Is this good enough? Isn't this what we fought for? For freedom. Doesn't America and this university share the ideals we fought to defend for you?" He was admitted. But as described in the City Club last week, not every faculty member always made it easy for him, some deliberately attempting, his words, to flunk him at every turn. He succeeded, despite the obstacles. Our Cleveland hero, Robert Madison. He went on to Harvard, where he studied under the legendary Walter Gropius and continued to build solid friendships with people like Coretta Scott. From Harvard, he went on to l'École des Beaux-Arts. After all that training and becoming a first registered African-American architect in the state of Ohio, Madison still wasn't getting work when he came home. Undergraduate at Case Western Reserve, graduate at Harvard, l'École des Beaux-Arts, decorated Purple Heart World War II hero, comes home, can't get a job in Cleveland, Ohio as an architect. So what does he do? He perseveres. He and the firm he had assembled offered a submission to a blind design competition. That is to say, one that knew not the applicants, only the work they submitted. He won the competition on the merits of his design, and he broke through. Robert Madison is a legacy of perseverance and conviction in our community. As we are 42 days from the 50th anniversary of the last burning of the Cuyahoga River, I return to the word legacy, and I return to the legacy of Carl Stokes. As we know from the Cuyahoga River that burned several times before June 1969, it was Mayor Carl Stokes who'd had enough. The day after the fire, he stood on the banks of the Cuyahoga on Campbell Road in the Industrial Valley where the fire began. He drew the attention of a nation with a national press conference that landed us on the cover of Time magazine. This was courageous. Remember, eras of mayors who didn't necessarily want to see their city in any kind of bad light and tried to bring big projects to Cleveland to sort of showcase what they could do. But Carl kept it real. He took his case to Washington, where his brother, Congressman Louis Stokes, took up the charge. Two siblings raised in Cleveland public housing, one the first African-American mayor of a major American city, and the other Ohio's first African-American congressman, went to work together to change a nation, leading a conversation in Washington that would launch the Clean Water Act. They mobilized in a moment of crisis and moved a nation forward with cleaner water. It's a Cleveland legacy that should be celebrated this June 22nd with another national press conference on the same site that celebrates the revitalization of a city and her river now deemed by the EPA clean enough in its entirety to fish out of. I will say, just pulling away from my page, we all know as we say and talk about the revitalization of a city, how much work still needs to be done. We know We're not there yet. We can celebrate, we should celebrate June 22nd, both what we've done environmentally in the River Valley, but we should celebrate the Stokes brothers for their courage, for the legacies that they left us when they took on a charge that they just could have let another era of a river burn, but they went to Washington, they said this has to change. We build off of each other's legacy work as a community. Just think of what Cleveland can do. I think actually with the Cuyahoga River and all that's happening around it, we are now rowing in it, we're biking the towpath trail. We can leverage that single news story that Carl built the city's narrative around. He gave us an opportunity to reintroduce ourselves from Cleveland as America's freshwater capital, as a city just like our river that returned. It's ours to seize. But let us not move at the pace he forewarned of. Over that coffee that hatched out of a class here at Levin, I think of Carl Stokes. I think what he was admonishing me as a student, and let's just say all we students and all we graduates of this Levin College, not to let change come in inches in Cleveland. From Dr. Campbell to Kristin Farmer, Robert Madison to Maxine Goodman Levin to Mayor Carl Stokes. These are the stories of people who took risks and innovated, who applied themselves with conviction and left legacies in many forms. From civic labs that you launched from here at the Maxine Goodman Levin College, you could be next. How will you innovate? How will you apply and leave your legacy with conviction? That opportunity is in front of you, and I know you will pursue it. Someday it will come at you, and you will seize it. That's the CSU Levin way. Here's to you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Bob Gleason. I serve the college in 3 different ways, as a professor, as the associate dean, and right now I think mostly as the Albert A. Levin Chair of Urban Studies and Public Service. And on my agenda are 3 items. The first item is I want to say thank you to Chris Ronan. That was a wonderful talk and a wonderful reflection on not only your own experiences, but the principles around which you've chosen to build those experiences. And those are principles that I hope you took notes on. I did. I actually wrote them down. And there is a sense of pride that I feel, not having been part of this college at all when you were here, right? But today to be part of an institution that produces folks like yourself makes me very proud. And thank you very much for your contribution to this event today. Thank you. Second, I am supposed to represent the faculty in 2 ways. First, I want to represent the faculty to note a change that is affecting us as a group that goes beyond all of your graduations. Right? As a faculty, we have 1 member of our group who is officially retiring, and we just want to recognize him at this moment while everyone's here. Professor Klein, could you stand up, please? Richard Klein, who has been, everybody? Dr. Klein has been teaching people here and interacting in and out of this college and interacting in and out of higher education institutions and interacting within the circle of people who over the last 50 years have made educational uplift and the education of Cleveland area residents a fundamental component of the entire revitalization capacity that Chris has mentioned. I'm an historian. Without the investments and without the heart that has gone into building the educational institutions that serve the people of this region itself would be incapable of revitalizing itself. And those who have devoted their careers to that venture include people like Dr. Klein. And we are very honored that he has been in and out of this college literally since 1980. And I'm happy to say he'll still be hanging around here next year because he and I are working on a project together. So thank you very much, Richard. My last task right here is to try to speak as much as I can on behalf of the faculty to all of you. When you are students in a program, the faculty at first are these intimidating people. Then they are these infuriating people. Oh my goodness. What is he making me do now? Oh my God, you can't believe what she said in a class last week, right? Then, right about now, I hope you start understanding that the relationships turn around. Because although it's true from the moment you walk in this building, you may only now begin to realize the degree to which we are deeply honored to have played a role in the development of your own careers, in the development of your own craniums, your capacity to look at the world as it is, to understand the complexity that we try to impart in a College of Urban Affairs, and to define particular ways that you would like to use your own personal human agency, right? Leverage the knowledge that you've gotten and make this world a better place. The reality that we as teachers and researchers have the capacity to add knowledge to that venture and to help you guide your careers in effectively pursuing ways to improve the world is the deepest fulfillment that we have as professionals. And we are delighted that you have given us the honor of taking our notes and taking our tests and writing the papers for us and being part of the learning process that will make this a better community. And believe me, we look forward to taking credit for everything you ever do in the rest of your career. So on behalf of the faculty, we say thank you for spending your time here as part of this college. We're proud to be calling you alum. Our applause to you. Now, having said that, I am able to turn the program over to our next step, where we start honoring you in more specific ways.
It's my honor to present the Valedictorians. Now, our undergraduate valedictorians are selected from a pool of the highest achieving students. This achievement in and of itself is remarkable. However, our valedictorians are selected on the basis of their involvement and engagement above and beyond. I am pleased to honor the Levin College valedictorians from the last 2 semesters, both of whom embody the best of this college: public service, leadership, and change. The summer-fall 2018 undergraduate valedictorian is Susanna Mingus. Come on up. I'm going to ask you to stand over here and say some good things about you. Susanna is a student in the Levin College's 4+1 Nonprofit Administration and Leadership Program. After graduating in summer with her BA in Nonprofit Administration, she continued and is earning her Master of Nonprofit Administration and Leadership tomorrow. Susanna's journey has not been easy. Her challenges inspired her work in nonprofit organizations and to join AmeriCorps. She has extensive experience with service organizations and projects throughout the nation, including a children's home, an environmental camp for impoverished children, and building homes through Habitat for Humanity. She has removed invasive species in national parks and participated in local organizations such as Because I Said I Would. In Susanna's words, her fight for diversity and inclusion and social change has just begun. The spring 2019 undergraduate valedictorian is Delaney Canfield. Delaney? No. Just stand here. Delaney is also a student in the 4+1 nonprofit program, earning her BA in Nonprofit Administration tomorrow and continuing as a graduate student in the fall. Delaney has been engaged on campus since she set foot on our campus. She has become involved in Viking expeditions, the student-led service organization, and has participated on 5 service trips, including taking on the role of site leader for 2 of these trips. In addition to her academic achievement and campus engagement, Delaney has been engaged in the external community as well. She's the co-founder of a nonprofit organization, SHAPE, whose mission is to provide educational hands-on experience to high school students and college students in the field of photography and videography. We are so proud of these 2 graduates, and we can't wait to see what's next for them. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to the next part of the agenda. I think that is Dr. Kellogg. Dr. Kellogg.
Good afternoon. I'm Wendy Kellogg. I'm chair of the Department of Urban Studies. And if I could get Pat Grobel, Minkyu Yom, and Shensan Hung to come up on the stage. Just come up behind me and stand in the glaring light for a minute. This part of the program is to honor recent doctoral graduates who have gone through the college. The doctoral degree is the highest level of academic achievement. It is the process through which universities create new knowledge, and in this college, that's new knowledge to inform public decisions and life in government and civil society. For those of you who are not quite familiar with that process, trust me, it's pretty grueling. It's 6 years or so, depending on your schedule, of courses, examinations, a dissertation, and a oral public defense. So that's how we make sure that the research that these young people have undertaken is rigorous and valid and of use to society. Pat Grobel here on my left finished in the summer of 18. Her chair was Nixon Gali, and this is the committee that helps students. They have a chair. Her dissertation, who's in charge here? Exercising authority in the organization-volunteer relationship. Marissa Piazza was not able to be here today, but her chair was Ned Hill, and she wrote about catching the gazelle, antecedents and outcomes of high-growth firms. Minkyu Yom is here today. His chair is Dr. Brian Mickelbank, and his dissertation is Identifying, Explaining, and Rethinking Gentrification. Shensan Hung, I'm happy to see you again, is here. His chair was Dennis Keating. His dissertation was called The Spatial Spillover Impact of Land Bank Properties on Nearby Home Sale Values in Cleveland, Ohio. And lastly, Michelle DiStefano is not here, but she will walk tomorrow and be hooded by her chair, Dr. Bill Bowen. She's traveling today from out of state. Her dissertation is entitled The Roots of the Discipline of Public Administration, a Narrative Analysis of Progressive Era Chicago. So I hope you will join me in congratulating these folks who are now, let's see, you're all doctors already, right? You officially finished? See, they still quite can't believe it. Yeah. They have put in a tremendous amount of work, and we are so happy that they were here at the college and studied with us, and we look forward to great things from them in terms of publishing and being faculty and researchers out there in the world. Congratulations.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel Singer. I'm the Assistant Dean for Student Services here in the College of Urban Affairs. Among the most rewarding aspects of my work here in the college is seeing students graduate and working with scholarships. We are so fortunate to have over 20 endowed scholarships in this college alone, from which over $100,000 each year are awarded to Levin students. On behalf of this college and our students, I would like to acknowledge and thank our donors. Would those of you who are in attendance today please stand or raise your hands? I know there are some of you. Thank you so much. And to all those students who have received Levin College scholarships while you were here, would you please stand? Right now, I would like to highlight one unique scholarship in particular. The Campbell Steinbach Fellowship provides a wonderful opportunity for an undergraduate senior to work with a Levin faculty member on research related to the urban environment. This year's fellow was Cameron Caputi. Would you please stand or thank you, Cameron. For the last year, Cameron has worked with Professor Deirdre McGeehan as the Campbell Steinbach Fellow. He explored the connection between the growth of post-industrial cities and the foreign-born population. Through the compilation of American community survey data, he was able to establish that in the top 10% of fastest-growing census tracts in post-industrial cities, the foreign-born population growth outpaced both native-born population growth and overall population growth on average. This infers that the foreign-born population is driving overall census tract population growth. There was also an increase in the headship rate in these growing census tracts. Cameron is an honors student majoring in urban studies, graduating tomorrow, who transferred into this college after taking contemporary urban issues as an honors contract course with Dr. McGeehan. You could say that there he caught the research bug. He will be continuing his studies and research at Carnegie Mellon University, where he has been accepted into the MPA program. Congratulations, Cameron. And next, I'd also like to ask Dr. Steinbacher to stand and be recognized. Thank you so much for making this fellowship possible. And thank you for all your continuing support of this college. The next portion of our program honors some of the many outstanding Levin students and graduates. Each presenter will say a few words about the award they're presenting and the recipient or recipients. While they're speaking, I would ask the honoree or honorees to come up to the stage to receive their certificate and stand for a picture. Now on to the awards.
My name is Winifred Weiser, and I have the honor of serving as the undergraduate director here. The College of Urban Affairs has always sought to recognize the hard work of our students. Our main undergraduate award is the John C. Little Award, which has been presented annually since 1977. It honors John C. Little, who was a faculty member at the Institute of Urban Studies, which later became the College of Urban Affairs. John brought to our students his knowledge and experience as a public administrator who worked to better the city of Cleveland as the executive director to then Mayor Carl B. Stokes. Mayor Stokes once said of John, "Every public administrator needs a man like John Little at his side." John Little, as teacher, used his exceptional gifts of patience, understanding, unfailing optimism, along with a contagious sense of humor, to enable his students to find within themselves the vision and the courage to set forth on the uncharted waters of their futures. He helped them to see how putting the learning that happens here into action will help. It is awarded to the undergraduate student who most closely epitomizes the qualities of excellence, intellectual curiosity, and personal integrity that characterize John C. Little. This year, the 46th John C. Little Award goes to Robert Perko. The undergraduate program at Levin is strengthened by our mix of traditional age students who bring us their unbounded belief in changing the world around us, and our older students who are returning to complete their degrees and help shape that dynamic with their wisdom and their experience. Bob is one of those returning students who has contributed to that process in the classroom while completing his coursework and doing all of that while serving in the fire services and moving up in rank. He completes his undergraduate degree in public safety management, taking advantage of our Credit for Life program, writing a portfolio to show how his work and life experience helped meet course outcomes for some of his classes. John Little was devoted to the Cleveland community and worked to instill in his students that they can make a lasting contribution to their communities as an administrator as well as by direct action. Bob Perko not only gives a direct contribution to his community safety as a firefighter paramedic, but also his competency in administration has allowed him to move through the ranks to achieve being named chief of the University Heights Fire Department in 2018. It is critical for any city administrator to be able to work closely with not only his boss, the mayor, but also council who approves funding. The mayor of University Heights is here, I get to say that. As chief, he has successfully worked closely with both the mayor and the council of University Heights. This has allowed him to restore the Fire Prevention Bureau, enhance firefighter and paramedic training, renew resident ancillary programs like installing child safety seats and smoking directors. His presentation and documentation of need allowed him to earn unanimous council approval of a purchase of an over $1.2 million new Quint ladder truck for the city. John C. Little, the administrator, would be proud of that administrative record, and John C. Little, the professor, would also be proud that he maintained close to a perfect 4.0 in his academic classes while doing that. I am delighted to be able to introduce him to all of you and to present him with the 2019 John C. Little Award. Chief Robert Perko.
Good afternoon. My name is Rob Zeil. I'm the director of the Center for Public and Nonprofit Management, and this is Alexandra Higgles. She's the administrator of our internship program. Today we have the pleasure and honor to announce the Outstanding Undergraduate Internship Award. But before I pass the mic over to Alexandra, I wanted to say congratulations to all of our students, and also thank you. Thank you because I always get calls from our organizations that are asking for our students. They're asking because you are the top notch in this entire university, and they said we want them to be working in our organization. So you have all raised the bar, and our internship students are the best. So I just want to say thank you, congratulations, and without further ado, Alexandra Higgle.
So this year we have two recipients of the Outstanding Undergraduate Intern Award, Melina Hyde and Aaron Mahoney. Melina and Aaron, please come to the stage. Well, we'll still talk about them. So, Melina Hyde worked as the Program and Grant Development Intern at St. Clair Superior Development Corporation. Melina completed 10 grant applications for their youth development program, coordinated countless baking and cooking programs for their youth, and planned their teen voter registration program. According to Melina's supervisor, she's attentive to details, thorough, and extremely intelligent. Additionally, she has a wonderful attitude when working with younger people. This summer, Melina will continue her journey at St. Clair, working as the Youth Development Coordinator. Awesome job, Melina. Our other recipient, Erin Mahoney, worked as the Orientation Student Manager at Cleveland State University's Office of Admissions. Erin served as the main point of contact for CSU orientation leaders, regularly presented to groups of over 200 people, and created and facilitated orientation leader training. According to Erin's supervisor, she was a star employee. Erin was extremely motivated and often completed work before she was even asked to. Upon graduation, Erin will pursue a degree in higher education, a graduate degree in higher education. We wish you the best of luck, Erin. Once again, please join us in congratulating our outstanding interns.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Rydberg Webster. I'm an associate professor here in the College of Urban Affairs, and I direct the Master of Urban Planning and Development degree. I'm pleased to present 2 awards this afternoon. Would Dro Sarabian please come up? The faculty of the Master in Urban Planning and Development program unanimously nominated Dro Sarabian as the recipient of the 2019 APA Outstanding Student Award. The APA Outstanding Student Award recognizes outstanding attainment in the study of urban planning by students graduating from Planning Accreditation Board accredited programs, of which we are, of course, one. Dro has an outstanding work ethic, professionalism, academic performance, and interest in engagement beyond the classroom. He is graduating with an impressive GPA, completing both the Master of Urban Planning and Development degree and a certificate in GIS. This year, while attending school full-time and working as a GA with the Center for Economic Development, Dro also served as the CSU APA liaison to the Cleveland section of the American Planning Association. We look forward to having him as one of our outstanding alumni, and for all of these reasons, we are pleased to honor Dro Sarabian with our 2019 APA Outstanding Student Award. So the next recipient of the Wallace Tier Prize could not be here this afternoon. I am told she is literally working on affordable housing as we speak, which is very appropriate for this award. So we are pleased to award this year's Wallace Tier Prize to Jennifer Chandler. The Wallace Tier Prize honors a student who plans a career in urban planning and who exemplifies the professional ideals of Mr. Tier, a lifelong advocate for quality housing for low-income and elderly people. Jennifer is graduating this May with a 4.0 GPA. In addition to completing the Master of Urban Planning and Development degree, she is also earning a certificate in real estate development and finance. And I should note that Jennifer was also the Levin College's undergraduate valedictorian just a few years ago. Since November, she has been employed full-time as a neighborhood development specialist with the city's Department of Community Development, where she administers the home program and is the project manager for the Fact 50 program, a new LIHTC program that will generate up to $30 million in affordable housing development in Clark Fulton over the next 3 years. She has been busy at work doing all of this while completing her degree full-time. Jennifer, as I just said, could not join us this afternoon, but I'd like to offer her our congratulations and best of luck in her future endeavors.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Schmidt, and I am here today representing the American Planning Association's Cleveland section. I'm here today to present an award that our organization gives every year for an outstanding mid-program planning student. This year, we are pleased to present the award to David Boz. Every year, we ask faculty here at the college for recommendations, and we are very excited that and pleased to present this award to David based on an amazing array of recommendations that came from the faculty. They were filled with praise, and we are thrilled for that. We're excited to see where David ends up in his career, where all of your careers end up, to collaborate with you in the future, all of you, and be inspired by all that you've learned here today. And as a representative of the APA, I would be remiss in not saying that we hope you all remain active with our professional organization in the future, that you check out all of the great events that are coming up on our website, and we hope to see you all interacting with all of us for a long time to come. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Mickelbank. I'm a faculty member here at the college, and I'm delighted today to announce Jasmine Blockson as this year's winner of the Howard I. Bruce Award. Jasmine. I've had many interactions with Jasmine over the past few years, and the characteristics attributed to Howard I. Bruce of excellence, industriousness, and personal integrity are quite fitting for Jasmine. We've had many discussions about her professional goals, her capstone research, and she's worked with me as a tutor for one of my classes. But I want to talk for a moment about having Jasmine in my class. It was a required class in her curriculum, not an elective, and she's too professional to have said it at the time, and she's too polite probably, or so polite now that she'll probably deny it in this room of lots of people. But I don't think Jasmine liked my class very much. But I always think it's such a statement of character when a student shows up, has a positive attitude, works hard and succeeds at a necessary task. Not a favorite task or a task she's looking forward to, or a task that she might think is in her wheelhouse. But rather, what does a student bring to the table when she thinks that table is covered in unpleasantness? Jasmine brings the qualities of Howard I. Bruce: excellence, industriousness, and personal integrity. Please join me in congratulating her.
Hello, I'm Meg Rubidoux, a faculty member, sort of cross boundaries, but one of the things I do here is environmental policy. And so I have the honor to present our Environmental Studies Outstanding Student Award. And then Tom Hildy, who also teaches environmental topics, will present the other. So we have two students, and I'll have Renee Kaziz, please come up. And then I will talk a little bit about Renee, and then Annie Roberto, who was not able to be here, Dr. Hildy will talk about. Okay. All right, so this award goes to the most outstanding graduates from our Masters in Environmental Studies. The MAES is a really cool and unique, truly interdisciplinary degree where students are required to take classes in the natural sciences as well as here in the Urban College for social sciences. So they're really well positioned to do very cool things with an understanding of the science underneath of environmental issues and the policy and administrative topics related to executing change for the benefit of the environment. So Renee, I had the pleasure of meeting in my statistics course. She did an awesome project looking at the socioeconomic predictors of environmental quality variation in Ohio. So very neat, and then her research has progressed. Her capstone on the topic of the effects of environmental management systems. It's just really, really cool and amazing work. She's also a super well-rounded person, involved heavily in the Lithuanian community and in our graduate student association. So cheers for Renee Kaziz. Everybody give a round of applause. Right.
Thank you, Dr. Rubidoux. I'm Tom Hildy, assistant professor here at the Urban Affairs College, and for our second Environmental Studies Outstanding Student Award, I'm very pleased to present it to Annie Roberto. Annie also cannot be here today because she's at a stormwater conference in Cincinnati. You know, that's what she does. She's always out there doing stuff, whether it's wading through a river, collecting water quality samples, or inviting me to environmental webinars often. So it's really no surprise that she couldn't make it. But I wanted to say that Annie is a very special student to me. She was my graduate assistant last year. You know, from my perspective, she's incredibly deserving of this award due to her contagious passion for sustainable freshwater management, environmental quality, and public health, as well as her ambition to succeed and make lasting improvements in these areas. So I'm so proud to have worked with Annie, and I'm very happy that I can now point to her as a graduate of our college because I think she represents us really well. I'm proud to have her working out there in the field throughout Northeast Ohio, dedicating herself to improving water quality in our rivers, streams, and Lake Erie. And finally, I look forward to having her in the region as an important advocate and steward for the environment, hopefully for a long time to come. She was only my graduate assistant for 1 year because she was quickly hired as a stormwater inspector at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, so she's currently working there. So let's congratulate Annie.
Hello again, it's Bob Gleason. It is my honor to make note of our outstanding graduate of our master's program in Masters of Administration and Nonprofit Administration and Leadership, MNAL, sorry. I've got to get my acronyms correctly. To Madison Scagnetti. Madison, are you here? I wasn't sure. I didn't think I saw her. Oh, good. I get to say nice things and she won't even blush. I first got to know Madison in my own classroom, and every student is a story, right? Every one of you has your own story of what you've overcome, right? You've overcome complexities in your own life, right? Complexities in the world that presents to you while you're a student, and complexities in the classroom of all the courses that you take. And you then take all of that courage and hard work and dedication, and you turn it into something. And Madison has already done that. As she graduates from our master's program in nonprofit administration and leadership, she is already serving as the, let me get her actual title correct, because I keep getting emails from her all the time now, because I advise with this group, the External Affairs Officer for the Adams Board of Cuyahoga County, which is a tremendously important component of using tax dollars to really help the most vulnerable people bring order to their lives. The Adams Board stands for the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County. So Madison's not here right now, but we actually are giving her this award. And on her behalf, she's one of the people that I look forward for us taking credit for all the wonderful things she continues to do.
Hello again. It's my pleasure to award the Russell Cashian and Susan Onison Award. Could Hannah Leibovitz and Ronan Liu come up here, please? Ladies, just right here. This is an award that encourages doctoral students to publish in peer-reviewed journals. And again, if you aren't familiar with that whole world, it's critical these days, if you want to get a job as a faculty member, that you have publications before you even finish your dissertation and your degree. So we encourage our students to do that, and these two students have done just that. Hannah Leibovitz, on my immediate left, has co-authored a paper entitled Service Learning as a Tool to Cultivate Democratic-Minded Students, a Conceptual Framework. And this has been accepted by the Journal of Public and Nonprofit Affairs and will be published this coming year. Hannah used John Dewey's pedagogical approach about democratic education to make the case that service to the community can be a vehicle to cultivate students' understanding of democracy. And we hold those values dear here in the college. She also looked at Masters of Public Administration programs as a valuable way to cultivate that approach to learning. And let's see, I think that's all I'm going to say about that. Ronan Liu has co-authored a paper titled Urban Villages as Incubators of Creative Clusters, the Case of Guangzhou. This has been accepted for publication in an upcoming special issue of International Development Planning Review. That paper examines cultural and creative clusters, especially art clusters, that have flourished across cities and towns in China as a result of local government efforts to establish them as a method for urban regeneration. And the paper examines the effect of either top-down creative placemaking approaches versus bottom-up local approaches in Guangzhou, and she finds that organically grown village-based artist clusters can better nurture creative people than planned art districts. Surprise, surprise. All right, so I'd like you to help me congratulate both of them on having papers accepted that will be out for publication soon, and I'm sure they'd be happy to let you know where to find those when that happens.
I'm Clayton Lukitch. I teach in the Public Administration program, and it's my pleasure to present the Cy Murray Award for this year. Professor Cy Murray, now retired from Levin College, is a practitioner of city management with an international reputation. And while at Levin, he inspired many professionals here in Northeast Ohio. This award, which bears his name, is awarded annually to the MPA student who demonstrates excellence in the classroom, as well as great professional potential. We have many excellent MPA students in this program that are graduating today, and I can say the faculty are quite proud of them. But two graduates stand out as particularly deserving. First, Kirby Centolla, specialized in public financial management, a concentration which requires challenging multidisciplinary coursework. He excelled. In addition, Kirby worked as a graduate student researcher for me and helped to lead our student chapter of the International City and County Managers Association. This, while contributing in various forms to the Rainey Institute in Cleveland, an organization that provides children with opportunities in the performing and visual arts. Now I can say without reservation that I have no doubt Kirby will make a great impact on his community. Please join me in recognizing Kirby Centolla. Next, Jennifer Kahns. Jennifer is an elite student who excelled in her coursework. She graduated in December with a concentration in public and city management. She works as the Accountable Health Communities Program Manager at the United Way of Cleveland. She connects ideas, people, and organizations. Her outstanding capstone paper focused on how to increase the civic capacity of organizations working to address the social determinants of health. We are excited to follow Jennifer's impact moving forward, and we have no doubt she will accomplish great things. Please join me in recognizing Jennifer Kahns.
One of the other pleasures that I have today from having served as director of our nonprofit program is to induct 6 people, 5 of whom are here, into the Honor Society associated with the profession of nonprofit management, the new Lambda Mu International Honor Society. This is, I believe, the 4th year that we have been members of this honor society. And without further ado, what we'll give people is a particular rope that indicates that they can wear on their commencement tomorrow, that indicates their membership in this very prestigious International Honor Society, and a certificate that they can have that indicates their membership, and a letter of praise from the president of the International Honor Society. So without further ado, I'm not sure if each person is here, so let me see. There's one person I know is not. Shavante Kimbrough, are you here? Are you here? No, I was looking around, I didn't see. Linda Marcellus? Linda? Susanna Mingus? I know you're here.
Thank you.
Over here. Elizabeth Panhorst? Thank you. Oh, you're Linda. Oh, oh, sorry. Linda, here you are. Sorry. I didn't see you. Elizabeth Panhorst, right, here we are. Thank you. And Jeff Ryder. There he is. Thank you for coming over here. Oh, please join me in congratulating these new inductees.
Hello, everyone. I think that they smartly put me at the end because I'll keep you all awake. This is one of my favorite days to come here and talk to our students and reward them for their hard work. And first, I just wanted to say, sort of hearkening back about risk-taking. One of the most special things about our students is that they're all risk-takers. We have non-traditional students. We have students who are caring for children and parents and who are here, who are working full-time and trying to take courses in the evenings. Our students are incredibly hardworking, and it's a real thrill to be able to come here and celebrate all of them, not only the ones who have not only taken risks and achieved excellence by being here in this room, but every single one of our students that makes it to graduation. So that is really my pleasure. I am Rosie Ty, and I am here as the faculty chair of a brand new honor society, the Upsilon Sigma International Honor Society, sponsored by the Urban Affairs Association. This is a brand new society. It only began last year, and we are one of the first few colleges to have established a chapter. So the folks that are listed here, if you could start coming up, that'd be great. I am not going to name all the names because we have nearly 30 students who will be inducted in this year's inaugural class. I would also like to ask Megan Rubidoux and Rachel Singer to join us because they are my co-faculty and staff people. What are we, the committee? We're a committee. And I'd like you all to just please join me in congratulating all of these recipients and all of these inductees into this honor society, which covers all of our programs from undergraduate through PhD students. I think we've got representatives of all of them here. So please give them a hearty round of applause. And congratulations to you all.
Well, Bob Gleason just reminded me that we have a chance to finish on time, but we'll see if we do that. Will all the graduates 2018 to 2019 please stand? Keep standing. By way of concluding remarks, I'll hearken back to remarks I heard when I graduated many, many moons ago. I received my PhD. The president of the university said 4 things. She said, I wish for you a life of passion. I wish for you a life of reflection. I wish for you a life of fulfillment. But I also wish for you the life of the mind. And if you don't understand that, think about it for a while, and when you get the answer, you'll see that it was a profound wish. And for all of you, this is what we wish as a faculty and as a college. Thank you. You can sit. I would be remiss if I didn't thank a few people. Rachel Singer and her staff, Erin Vokes from the Dean's office, and who else had a role in this? Kristen Blazek, Bob Martell. To all of you, thanks for putting on a fabulous show, and we'll see you next year. We have a reception. Please enjoy. But thanks again for coming out, and it was great. Anything that I missed? Thank you so much.